The Architectural Association this evening is very happy to host 1024 Architecture or 1024 Architecture from Paris in an evening lecture that will combine two parts, and Pierre Schneider and François Wunschel, who join us this evening, will go through their work, and I think that there will be time for a discussion at the end of the evening. So please welcome with me 1024 Architecture.
Merci. Hello, hello, check 1, 2. C'est bon le son? J'entends rien. C'est bon, ça a l'air bon. So, we will present you two parts. First one is our project that we do at 1024 Architecture, and second part will be more focused on MadMapper story and the software that we developed to make it happen. So first, 1024 Architecture. Why this name? Because we are mixing architecture, means real architecture, with 1024. 1024 is 2 to the power of 10. It's a basic screen resolution. It means that we mix real things made with real concrete things with virtual and pixels. So centimeter with pixel, 1024 architecture. First we will start with architecture. This is a classical drawing of architecture and a project that we've done in Paris on the Île Seguin. It's called Les Grandes Tables de l'Île Seguin. It's a temporary restaurant. For this project, the aim was to make to be able to build it fast and to be able to make it disappear fast. Actually, the project is still on site, and I guess for 2 or 3 more years from now. So for this project, we made a totally basic scaffolding structures to make it happen. These structures grows up in less than 1 week, and all the technical aspects from the restaurant, the kitchen, bathroom, elevators was done previously in container, basic shipping container. So this is after 10 days of building session, and after we put the restaurant room in, it's like a wood box inside of the scaffolding structures. And here you can see the building process, and we use, of course, the scaffolding structures as building help. So you can see this scaffolding ground that we removed after. And inside we use really basic wood panels for acoustic panels and to make this restaurant room. So here you can see in between, the wood box is the isolated place for the restaurant. You have the scaffolding basic structures, and then a skin for the rain. So this is the project at the end, and of course at 1024 Architecture we like to enhance the project with light. So we used a flexible neon tube to redraw the project on itself. This neon tubes is something usually used for to write like restaurant, but we didn't want to write restaurant on the restaurant, so we just use it to make it like a big light sign, and the whole project is a light sign. So this was the opening party with some DJs playing on the project and many people enjoying the place. This is the place doing the same party. And this neon tube was really something that we liked on this project, and we made another project with this exactly the same product. This project was done 1 year ago in an art center in Montpellier. It's called 24 Lines, because it's made with also a scaffolding structure, but with 24 lines of light. And each line is, we can control each line separately to make some compartments, like living, like breathing compartments. This is project by day and during the night. So we use these scaffolding tubes, but for this one we used a rusted scaffolding tubes to contrast with this totally white art center place. And so you have this detail, and all the furniture was made with collaboration with Sigu, some designer we like to work with, and it was rusted too to be fitting in the project. So you have these 24 lines, and we add some basic comportment that you can switch during the day, like a simple breathing comportment, or like going from the end to the beginning of the project, like on 14 meter longs. And so we had the opportunity to make 1 month ago a little performance to activate this light setup. And we worked with a piano player who made a specific composition which every note reacts one line. So I will show you quickly what it was. 1 month. After, of course, we So as you can see, we have for this project a PlayStation controller because we like to play, and this is for us the best tool to play really. So most of our projects are activated with this kind of tools. Square Cube, this was a project that we've done in 2007 for a French musician called Etienne de Crécy, who asked us to make a setup for his live show. This was indeed our first mapping project on tour. And it was, in fact, really easy to map because it was a simple square. This was the model that we worked on at the office. And we made all the preparation and all the work on, for this project on this little model. It was scale 1 to 10, so it was 60 centimeters high, and the real object was 6 meters high. It was a bit frightening because we didn't have enough money to test it scale 1 before the first show. So we made everything on these models, and the first show we've done, the first time we made it for real was in front of 10,000 people. So we were not sure that it will work really, but it would. This is the test. We just withdraw the scaffolding structures on itself by some video animation. Okay. And this is what it does, scale 1, during the first show in Transmusical in Rennes in 2007 with a musician in the middle of the box. In the same idea, the same concept, we develop it bigger, a project called Boombox. It's like a massive ghetto blaster, and we replace the cassette player by a DJ box. And on this project, it was really made for 2 video projector on each side. So this is a video matrix, and we made it like exactly at the scale of a basic projector's ratio. The basic ratio is 4:3. You have, of course, 16 per 9, but this was 2 times 4:3, and so we have 2 video projectors on each side, and we remapped it. So it was exactly the same concept, but in a bigger scale. And the big difference is that this one is not made for a specific musician, but it's done for many different DJs. So we have to activate it real time. This is what is dance in real, and I will just show you a little bit of the movie. So for every project that we do, we have like 3 main different aspects in the work process. The main thing is, of course, the architectural shape and building that we do, the boombox shapes that you've seen. And the second aspect is visual content. So we develop many different kind of visual content that we remapped on the architectural building. And the third aspect, of course, is the software that we do, that actually François do and codes to activate and to sync the music, the visual to the music onto the architectural building. So as you can see, this is a boomboxer, so the software that we use to activate the boombox, and you have a little PlayStation controller too, and we play it live like a video game, because we don't like all the VJ are always like, you know, behind the computer like this, and we prefer to be like in front of the show and to play directly on the real thing. 3D Bridge. This is a project that we've done in 2010 in Paris for the art event called Nuit Blanche. It was a 60-meter long bridge onto a bridge. And for us it was a really, really important step, because as you have seen, the previous project is in a way easy to map, because it's really on the surface, it's on 2D. And this project for us was, the aim was to make this kind of video mapping into a 3-dimensional space. So this was the bridge. So the bridge was like passing through the bridge and turning like this. So people were able to pass through this art installation. So I will show you. Yeah, this is inside the bridge too. This is also the software that we use to activate it. It was a looping performance, pre-code, but playing live. For that we use a famous sound software called Ableton Live, which is like the chef d'orchestre for this installation. And here you have the 6 video output, because we use 6 video projectors to remap it, and all the different fixtures, and the one on the top was to control all the stroboscopes. So I will just show you the beginning of this little movie to explain you how we draw it on itself. So it's really about redrawing with pixels the real architecture. So this was done, of course, the night before. Everything is live. So another project in the same concept and spirit was the Habeas Electronicus. It's actually a contemporary Christmas tree that we've done first in the city in Alsace called Guebwiller, and that we've done 2 years ago on the Grand Place in Brussels. This project is also a belvedere, so people are invited to go into the trunk of the tree, and we were able to go at the platform at 19 meters high to have a super nice view on the place, of course, and on the whole city, because you can see through up to the roof of the Grand Place. So this project was in the city of Brussels during 1 month, of course, the Christmas months, like starting now until Christmas. So it's exactly the second anniversary of this project in Brussels. This project, and as you can see, the building of the light of the building was connected to our installation. So we were able to sync all the video mapping, all the light into our Habeas Electronicus project, and to sync it to the big and massive architectural lighting. And so we have many different aspects, and of course we can put it put it in every colors. And this project made a kind of riot on place, because not everybody was happy with that. I think because of the pink color, it was perhaps a too much gay feeling for everybody. So another project was in the Grand Palais in Paris, Electronite, just to, it was our first laser project, because for this project we had only like 24 hours to set up everything. It's a massive place, 15,000 square meters, the Grand Palais, and so we had to invest it in less than 24 hours. And so we decided to make a massive stage built with container, and we make a really massive laser setup to redraw some architectural fixture and line into and onto the building. Another project is our VTLZR for Vitalik. Vitalik is actually the DJ who made the performance in our project in Montpellier, 24 lines. The DJ at the end who mixed was Pascal Arbez, called Vitalik. And we made for him 2 different projects. The first one was the V-Mirror for his previous album, and this is a project that we've done for his last album called Rave Age. So we imagine this VTLZR, which means vitalizer. It's like a new instrument for him to play live, but to play light. So it's like a big array of moving light in a scaffolding structure, of course. Behind you have some mirror, as you can see, which was the V-Mirror, our previous project LED panel that we recover with transparent mirror. So you have the reflection as well as some video content inside, and you have all this array of moving light. This array is work like, this is a picture, so you can see it can give the feeling that we can blend the light, which is actually not possible at all to blend the light, but we can control it really easily with video content, because we use video to activate all these different moving lights. So it means that we have, I go back, 5 per 10 pixels, and we remap a really low definition video file onto the light. And we use every layers in the pixels to activate different things. Like you have, in one pixel, you have 3 layers, RGB. The red is for the powerful of the light. The V controls the pan of the light, and the B controls the tilt. So with one pixel, we can give to each moving light all the info needed to make it move and dance in real time. So this was doing a live show with people enjoying it. This project gave us the idea to go further with this kind of technology. Because as François will explain you, with our software MadMapper, we started to work with video and to remap video, and now we are really much more working with light and moving lights and this kind of technology. And so we had this idea, just a little teaser, which was the first test. People to light by the music. In all our projects, one project gives you the idea for the project after, and this project, of course, gives us the idea to make it as we've done it with the video mapping stuff onto the scaffolding structures. We started with a 2D mapping that and after we go to a 3D sculptures fully mapped, and we had the idea to make the same with this technology. And so we refer to this tesseract. This is a tesseract. We just it's a 4-dimensional cube, a cube into a cube, that you always see it like a cube into a cube when you move it in time, when you animate it. And we decided to make a project where we use this kind of moving light into a 3-dimensional cubes, and we put like it's 25 projector, but we had for budget reason to cut some of them. So we have 65 moving lights, Sharpies actually, on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phase. And we can, of course, activate it real time doing some performance. So we use exactly the same technologies that we used for the 3D bridge with Ableton Live, working as the chef d'orchestre of the project, and activated, activate all the projects in real time. This was the first test of this Tesseract project. It was 2 months ago in Vancouver for New Form Festival. Behind you have the Digital Art Center in Vancouver. And it was the first time that we've made it, and then we made it again in Prague City. This is in Prague City 1 month ago. And this is the little software that François made to control everything. So you have one of the basic faces. The 5 faces are made with the same number of Sharpies, so 9 in the center plus 4 at the corner. And is This was in Prague for Signal Festival, for the first edition of this light festival in Prague, and we were really happy to be on the main square, on the main place of Prague for this first Signal Festival edition. All of this project and info can be, of course, if you want to see the movie further, you can go on our website and on our 1024 official Facebook page. I will let François continue and show you the mapping story of MadMapper.
Well, thank you, Pierre, for this presentation. I hope it blew your mind, or at least you got interested in, because now I'm going to show you how you can actually do it by yourself. This is my desktop, yes. Okay, so you can do it by yourself using a software that we actually designed in our office, which is called MadMapper, and it's a software for doing video mapping, and we designed it in Paris with our friends from GarageCube, which is a VJ software company based in Switzerland. They are very Swiss, very sharp, very precise. We like it. But before I'm going to try to explain you what is mapping first, and then what is exactly video mapping. So for this, I'm going to go through a little bit of history. So mapping first. Imagine you are a caveman. It's rainy outside, you go to a cave. You go into your cave and you fall in love with this nice little piece of rock, and it reminds you of some animal that your tribe is actually hunting outside, be it a horse or a zebra or some animal with dots. And then you start to paint it on the surface, but you use the features of the rock, the features of the surface to do your drawing. And for me, that's the essence of mapping. It's about creating a strong relationship with the surface and the content that you are drawing on the surface. So for me, this is the very first example of mapping. Actually, it's French. I advance a little bit through time, and on the left part, you see a painting by Giovanni Bellini. And actually, this painting is flat. So the artist is using the perspective to fake your brain, to make you think that it's in fact some kind of round shape. But the painting is flat, it's been painted on a wall. And for me, that's a very important aspect of mapping, which is using perspective to fake the brain, to give you new way of perception through the space. And another interesting aspect is the will of some artists to expand beyond the frame, to jump out of the frame. And this is a painting by Pere Borel d'Alcasso, and it explains very much the need for a lot of visual artists 10 years ago to go beyond the frame and to explode from a 4:3 ratio. And that's how, in a way, video mapping got so popular. I advance a little bit through time, and this is also important for me to show you this picture, because this artist, who was actually a teacher of Pierre and I, Hans Walter Müller, used simple projectors. So it's not animated, it's not video, it's a slide projector. But he used slide projector to project simple geometrical patterns on a building, and in a way, with simple geometrical patterns, you can completely change the perception that you have on some space. This is the left part of this picture, and on the right side, as you can see, he used light to, in a way, underline the features of the space. So for me, this is a very first wireframe picture on a real space, and it's very important to show this picture because a wireframe is a common way of showing geometry, and I guess everybody here is used to do it. But that guy, Hans Walter Müller, did it with a slide projector on a real space. So for me, it's very important to show you this. Next picture is more in the range of advertisement, and this is a very common effect. Everybody here opened once Photoshop and used the liquify filter of Photoshop. But here it's not video, it's just a print, but applied on a real building, and a very simple effect applied on a real building can really change the perception that you have on the space, on your environment. And I think as architects it's important to keep this idea in mind, because you can change the environment with picture, with simple pictures, such as a simple picture and a simple filter as that. This happened in Paris as well. So now I will go through video mapping, because it's a bit different, because video mapping uses the video technology. So it's like mapping, but being able to project moving images. And of course, this is a very recent technology, because maybe 20 years ago we didn't have the sufficient technology or powerful enough projectors to do it. But now with the democratization of technology, it's very easy to do it, and everybody can buy a projector and start doing this kind of video mapping thing. Again, historic, this is very a few years ago in the 80s by Michael Neymark. We used a 16mm projector, so it's not connected to a computer, but you can see that he went into a room and he shot some action, and then he painted the whole room in white and reprojected back the action into the room. So for me, that's the very first video mapping project. And you can see on the right that this technology allows to add some movement, some life, some energy into static spaces. And we as architects, when we design a space, it's static by nature, or I mean in the common sense of architecture. But with this kind of technology, we can add the sense of movement, of kinetics into the space. I keep on going. Again, a project by Hans Walter Müller. And here, actually, the space is an inflatable bubble. So it's a plastic bubble. But as you can see, it's made of wood, which means that with the mean of video mapping, with the help of projecting video, you can change the texture, the materiality of space. And a plastic space becomes a wooden space. And that's a very important aspect, because now with these projection systems, we can completely change the perception that we have on a space. So for me, that's also a key aspect of video mapping. I keep on going. And here, this is a project by 1024. It's a performance, it's called Euphoria, and that we actually performed in London a few years ago. And here we used the image as a construction material. Actually, there's only one projector, and it's projecting on 4 different layers of construction nets, which is the net that you would use when you build a building, or to protect the building from outside aggression, or to protect the outside from pieces of the building when you rework on the building. So it's scaffolding nets. But with these layers of nets, and with the projection, we can actually use the image as a construction material, and we can make volumes and space that you actually believe it's true, because we play with the perspective. And here, I think it makes some kind of space around the performers in the middle. So also that's an interesting aspect around the notion of picture, because picture, which is, and especially video picture, which are immaterial by nature, can become space and can become material. I advance a little bit. This is also a project by 1024 Architecture, where we used video mapping. It's in Lyon for the Fête des Lumières. It's a very popular event. It's the video mapping festival, let's say that, in France. And we used 3D modeling to actually change or turn this building into something that is living, that is reacting to some sound, because it was interactive installation, video mapping installation, where the audience was invited to sing into a microphone. And with our computers, we analyzed the sound and turned the sound in real time into a moving figure. So we turned the building into something living and moving. And for me, that's a very important aspect. Maybe the most important aspect of video mapping is that you can add dynamics or character into buildings. And that's one of the aspects that we like to work with at 1024 Architecture. Maybe I will show you the movie. That should be coming. So you saw that we used fake lighting to actually give some movement to the building, the first part. Then we actually distorted the geometry of the building. And this is something every architect can do, because you know how to model, you know how to warp and how to distort geometry. And in the end, we even turned the building into some living character. And these are the three aspects that are very strong in our studio and that we like to work with. I keep on going video mapping again, because especially in Europe we have a bunch of historical buildings, especially churches, and in France nobody goes to church anymore. So what do we do with these churches? Yeah, I know, because we won't make parties there, even if maybe in New York they turned the church into a nightclub, but in France, no, they don't like it. So actually, the people from the church are willing to bring some more people, some new people into these spaces. And with the use of technology, they can make some events that gather some people. And I think it's very interesting to use brand new or contemporary technology with historical buildings, because it's totally the opposite, and in a way it really fits. And that's one strength of this mapping thing, is that it's really connected with history. Of course, this is a project that Pierre showed before, and I won't expand on it. But for us, this project was an opportunity as architect to design both the building, the structure, and the content that would fit in. So it's not like doing some mapping project on some building that's on the street. No, we can actually design the building or the architectural volume and the projected content. And for us, it's a great strength because we know every aspect. So we can masterize every aspect, the construction aspect and the projection aspect. And here you can see that we play with just one video projector, and by playing with perspective, it gives you the illusion of depth. It gives you the illusion that it's actually across in volume, but we're just projecting a flat surface on a cube of scaffolding. So that's also an important aspect, and I think that's very interesting for architects, because when you design something and you also do video mapping or projection or graphics, you can think of both at the same time, and it makes a stronger project. Again, this is a project by a friend of ours, a theatrical project, and with just projection, is completely faking your brain that guy is levitating. In fact, is sitting on the stage, and that's plus I really like the aesthetics, of course, because it's all white, there's no color. But I like to show this picture because you can see that this mapping technology is really spread out. It's not just for architects, for party, for institutional events. It's also used into theatrical pieces like that. And I like, because it's not just a technology, it's a way of behaving with pictures. And here you can clearly see that the picture is a construction material. Again, this is a little project by Kip Webster, a friend of us, and this is a model, a simple cube, very simple cube, and with this video technology is able to fake your brain that you can see through the object. You can see through the volume, you can see a cube inside the cube, and that's also very interesting. Yes. And I keep on going. This is an experimentation also by our studio, where we try to use this technology to actually fit a moving dancer, because it's very easy to project onto static buildings. But when you want to project onto the body and moving body, that's another story. And that's some kind of research that we are doing in our studio with our softwares. So now I will speak a little bit about the techniques. I won't go too deep, you will see it's very easy, but basically the world of video mapping is divided into two categories: the 2D guys and the 3D guys. So the 2D guys, like photo-based, computer-aided design-based, it's like screen-based, and the 3D guys, they use 3D models, and they try to estimate the position of the projector so that it fits the real subject. So I will go through the techniques and show you. Remember this picture by Hans Walter Müller, who didn't have any computer. That guy didn't have computers. So how did he do? Because back in the days, he only had slide projectors. And actually, I know how he did it. This is how he did it. It's overly complicated. He used slides projector, many slides projector that he put into the space, and he projected simple patterns, S, F, G, R, some letters, patterns into the space. And then he took a picture, developed the picture, and analyzed which pattern was projected where. And he recropped everything to recompose this picture from all these patterns. And this is very complicated. For us, it seems overly complicated, because now we have the computers and we can use the strengths of the computers to do this kind of stuff. So this is a project that we did at 1024 Architecture, and we took a picture of that church. Remember, we have many churches in France, and we went to the town hall. We got the old drawing, drew by hand, so it was not AutoCAD drawing, and then we tried to mix and to confront the picture and the drawing, because of course both were different, because the church is not like it's been drawn. And so it resulted into this picture, which is a drawing from the point of view of the projector. So it's a 2D approach. And with this matrix, we use Photoshop, After Effects programs, any kind of softwares to make content for this building. And this is a result of some projection we did on the building. But remember, we also have a three-dimensional approach, and this is how you would do it in 3D. So you have two boxes, you have a projector, the point of view of the projector, the position is fixed, and you have the 3D model. So now what you have to do is match the 3D model to the actual object. And for this, you use a bunch of software, which are also complicated. But we did this picture, I go back to my 3D thing. This picture is a test for the stuff that happened in Lyon, the Perspective Lyric project, and we're also developing some kind of three-dimensional based techniques. It's called pose estimation, so this is a test that we did in order to match the 3D model to the real building. But with MadMapper, actually, we have taken into account the 2D approach first, because it's a software that is done by architects. Sometimes we call ourselves artists, but tonight, let's say I'm an architect. But it's done for artists, and artists, they don't like complicated software. So they like very straightforward software. So we took the 2D approach, and I will show you how with the 2D approach, we made a software for artists that is very easy to use and very simple and very minimal in style. Remember, we're working with Swiss people. So this is some examples of what we do with our software. Especially, I won't focus on architecture, but I'll try to expand. And here, remember during the war, the dazzle chips, and for this picture, we used a simple graphical pattern to break down the shape of a human body and actually break down, well, all these curves and everything. So we did this with our software very easily, very quickly in 5 minutes, and that's the philosophy that we want to have in our software. Very easy to do. And on the opposite, completely the opposite, something very minimal, a body very intimistic, and something very broad. It's a big party, and you can see it's totally different worlds, totally different. It's a big party, and we use MadMapper. On the right you can see the interface to drive the lighting, but also to drive the LED screens, the projection, everything, because it's a software where we wanted to be able to drive all the elements of, say, a party, for instance. Again, we had a big party, and this is a very cheap party made with cardboard boxes, and because it's a cheap software, we also like to work in cheap environment made out of cardboard, and you can see the result, and you can see the interface. It's very straightforward to actually manipulate. Again, this is more interesting for you maybe because it's a workshop that we did in Switzerland, and we designed a little companion to our software, and you can think of it like AutoCAD, like a software that you know where you can draw plans. But with this software, you can actually draw on space directly. So instead of drawing on a paper or computer, you draw on space directly. So it gives a real sense of freedom, because you don't draw in a two-dimension. Remember, it's a two-dimensional approach. But when you place projector in 3-dimension, your 2-dimension actually is in 3-dimension. So I won't expand on this. And we also do workshop here and there. This is a workshop in Geneva where we actually control light. It's important to note because I was talking about video mapping, and Pierre showed you that in our project at 1024 we do architecture, of course, video mapping, but we are also very interested into lighting. And with this software, you can, in the same environment, in the same space, you can do projection, video projection, and you can also control lighting. Actually, you can control anything that works with electricity. Yes, and I will go back to this in a few minutes. So I will just go through our subject, the main features of our software. This is the interface. This is me on a bad day with my webcam. And what it does, it actually manipulates surfaces in real time. So it takes, for instance, the camera, it's live, it's real time, and you can crop it, and you can wrap it, shrink it, put it everywhere you want in space, because your projector is projecting in space. So this is the main feature of our software. Of course, we have this kind of primitives, it's very boring. We have multiple outputs because, as I said, we can project in 3 dimensions. So in 3 dimensions, you need at least 3 projectors. And with this software, you can control multiple projectors at the same time. As many projectors as your computer can handle. So this is an interesting point because it's some kind of new feature that we just introduced. And to project in space, this little schematic gives you the idea of what this software can do, because you can unfold space. So each part of the space would be in 2 dimensions, and by unfolding and multiplying the number of projectors, you can actually project in 3 dimensions. So you can see I have this cube, I unfold, and this is the pattern, the final pattern that I get in the end. So even with a 2-dimensional approach, with a smart placement of projector, I can project in 3 dimensions. And this is an example of a mapping that we did in France in a courtyard where we unfolded the space. So remember I talked about lighting, and we had a space that we unfolded. So now let's imagine we have a volume, a very simple volume. It's some kind of facetized sphere. And with MadMapper, with this software, we can control the light. And what's interesting is not how you control the light, but how you unfold the space. So this is the end result of our project. And this is about unfolding a volume. So imagine you have your volume and you want to peel it like an orange. Okay? And with our software you can do this. Of course you have to think a little bit before. It's not so straightforward. You have to think about it a little bit. And just to explain you, this is the final solution, what we've chosen, how we chose to unfold the space. We actually sliced it. We sliced the space. And on the right, this is the pre-visualization, the 3D pre-visualization. And on the left, this is how it's done. So it's actually pictures or just blinking elements. And you can see I can make a cube with these patterns. And this is what the software can do. So it's actually more complicated than just blinking a light, because if you think about light or a volume in 3 dimensions, then comes the question on how you slice it, how you divide it, and how you make content for this kind of stuff. Okay? This is a little extra because at 1024 we like to drink, not wine, but cocktails. And as I said before, actually with MadMapper you can control any device that's driven by electricity. And a blender, a cocktail machine, it's electric, you plug it. So if you can plug it, you can control it. And for architects, you design the environment, but sometimes you want to control the environment. And if you can control the blender with your software, it can make you cocktail. Okay, so of course we like music, we like performance, and I will show you how we control these blenders with music and with lighting at the same time. So this is a little performance without this blender. And I like to show you this because it really helps to understand how we can expand this kind of field to everyday objects, to everyday environment, because we can use the image as a construction material, but we can also control any kind of stuff that's surrounding us. And that's the idea behind our software, and that's why we wanted to do this software, to be able to hack the environment and change the perception people have on their environment. And the last feature of our software, and this is more technical, is that you can use the software and a video projector in conjunction with a camera to turn the projector into a scanner. It's called space scanning. And we can get, in the end of the process, a pixel by pixel precise, remember Switzerland, pixel by pixel precise map of what the projector sees. So actually this is not a picture, this is what the projector sees. A gardening gnome, and this is the Christmas tree. Actually, we used this technology to do the mapping for the Christmas tree, because the front of house was not in front of the Christmas tree. It was 100 meters hidden in the basement with no view on the installation. So how can you do video mapping with no view on the subject, on what you're mapping on? But with this software, and that's why we developed this feature, you can turn the projector into a scanner. And that's kind of a very cool feature. We're very proud of it. And this is also from the digital garden. This is the view of the projector. And you can see on the top there's another projector because it scans everything. So this is what we get in the end. And with this map, it's very easy to do your mapping because you don't have to look with some magnifying glasses or some pirate thing. No, you can just work on your computer and be very precise because we're working with Swiss people. And this what's next, where to go beyond, and everybody here is used to 3D 3D modeling, and so I've talking about the 2D approach, and of course now that we are done with the 2D approach, we want to go 3D, and now we're working on a 3D pose estimation. So this is a little model that we quickly did in the office, and we sent it to some company, and they 3D printed it. And it's a very complex model. It's made of cubes with any direction. It's very complex. And with our little software that we are developing, we can actually fit the original 3D model onto the 3D printed model. So this is an aspect we're working on. And I think that this concludes my presentation. Thank you. So I don't know, maybe we have questions or no questions? Questions? Or not?
Thank you very much. Do we have questions? Are there immediate questions from the floor?
Hi, firstly, thanks for your talk, and I really like your work. I've been following it for some time. One of my best friends is Belgian, and I had a massive argument with him about the Christmas tree. He was saying it looked rubbish, and that's not true. My question is, you're obviously developing your own custom software for new shows, yet you're selling MadMapper. So I'm just wondering, how much time does it actually take you to develop custom software for every new show? So does it actually impact the project delivery, or?
Actually, for the show we are designing by ourselves. We make custom softwares, but for MadMapper we have specific developers. So it doesn't impact the time they take to develop the commercial software, let's say this. But what is important for us is that we do not want to sell rubbish. So in our shows, we make experimental softwares to make new features, and when it's good, when we like it, we try to put it on the commercial side. So it's always a mix between experimental software and commercial software. That's how it works. No? Yes? Sorry? How long? What the question? It takes a lot of time.
Hello, thanks for the speech. I just wanted to ask, were you going to introduce any new developments from 1024? Because if you use MadMapper and you know how you work, then we've seen all this before. And I wonder if you were going to introduce any new concepts, new ideas here.
Yes. I didn't want to, but now that you're asking, maybe I'm going to. Actually, we are working, and it's brand new information. How to say that? Let's say that all the money we get from MadMapper, because it's a commercial software, all the money we get, we do not buy Mercedes or stuff like that. We put it back into development, and now we are developing an environment for live coding. So you know live music, you play live like an instrument, you know live software for visuals, like, I don't know, some software modulates, stuff like that. But for coding, it's always the same. You think, you code, you compile, you wait, you see the result. But now what we want to do is live coding, because actually coding is a language. It's like, for me, it's like talking to you in English, but I'm talking to my computer in some other language. So it's the same. And what I want to do is I want to have real-time communication with my computer. So that's why I want to have a live coding environment to talk to my computer. And maybe my computer will respond to me. I don't know.
Is that something you're doing with Modulate? Or
No, it's a brand new stuff.
Is that OSC based and like we map based, like all the software today, everything is OSC development and it's map based. And obviously OSC is really good for this live, being able to, you know, it's a
Yes, we will
format for crossing different softwares to automatically speak across different software formats. But
yeah, we will have OSC. Actually, OSC, for those who don't know, it's a protocol. So we'll be using MIDI protocol, GMX protocol, OSC protocol, and a new protocol is called ILDA. It's for lasers. So that's all the protocols we want to use. But the language is being developed by a school in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. It's called Lua. It means moon, because it gets you on the moon. That explains you.
Here.
A very complicated question, please.
Okay, so by now you know that whenever you project in 3D, if you break the projection plane, you break the perspective illusion, right? Like, you had this issue where you had to project on a 3D object, but if you change the projection plane, the illusion of the perspective is broken.
This one is for you, Pierre.
So, my question to you, do you have any ideas how to solve that? Like, one simple solution is to kind of animate the object itself, right? Rotate it so it matches the projection.
Moving object? We're talking about moving object?
Yeah, if you want to counter the perspective breakage. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you move,
I know.
when you move your observation point to a different point, then your perspective illusion is broken.
Yeah. You want the vanishing point to be adapted automatically to the moving object.
So, do you have any ideas how to solve that? Like, have you guys even started to think of how to solve that kind of problem?
No, right now I don't have any idea, but...
It works as long as you're not using any perspective points. If you have a spherical projection, it works. But whenever you get out of the spherical projection and you go to multiple points perspective, you break your illusion. So one approach was by the guys, I don't know if you don't know them, from Bot and Dolly, who just moved the projection plane. But that's kind of difficult. I wonder if you guys thought of anything.
The robotic guys.
It's kind of an answer and a question at the same time. Obviously, for a single user or for a camera point of view, you don't need to worry about that.
Yes.
But also,
Thank you for answering.
So I want to know how long it will take for your new 3D system to be on the market, and what do you intend to achieve with that that's different to this challenge of perspective? that we've been talking about?
Yeah, for us it's just a way to experiment new stuff, so we don't know how long it will take, maybe a lifetime. I hope not, because I have other things to do. But I hope it will be quick, but it takes a lot of time because there are many parameters to take into account. So it looks simple, but in fact it's very complicated. And you see, I just say 3D and we have very complicated questions. So I hope it won't be too difficult. But soon, let's say soon.
Good question.
Good question.
Yeah. Of course, all these projects with lights need a night time.
Yeah.
But we made this B-faced project, like the one in the restaurant, is an architectural one. So of course you have one aspect during the day, which is much more architectural things, and you have another aspect. We transform it for the night time with lights. And of course, now actually you don't have enough power with video projector, enough with LED panels. You have light day LED screen, but it's always flat and so on. But so actually, as we are working with LED fixture and so on, the strongness of the light is stronger and stronger. So we can like the MadMapper project was for a show in New York City in June, and it was for the 21 of June, which is a bigger day in the year. And so, and for security reasons, we have to start the show. Like I don't remember, it was there, and the LED fixture was working by day because you can see it. That's why now we are much more interested into light fixture, LED things. And for this MadMapper thing, we designed by ourselves the LED tubes in China, of course, and we bring them to New York City. And now we are much more like studying this kind of fixture. But of course, with light, you cannot fight with the sun. The sun is always
Stronger.
Thank you for the tool, guys. We use MadMapper and we just love it. I think it's the best in the market. I've got a less technical question about the projection mapping, is more, I guess, to Pierre. Have you actually found any other uses to the projection mapping other than just having to deal with the performance, such as art, theater, and maybe VJ performances? Maybe you came across a project with education or I don't know, something else, less kind of performance. Do you see any other uses for projection mapping in it?
Yeah, for architectural models, for instance.
Yeah.
When you do your architectural, I don't know if you're architect. So when you do your architectural presentation, you have your model, and you can use projection mapping to enhance the model, add some schematics, some meaning into the model. So I think it's a good companion to architectural presentation. And I know that more and more architects are using projection mapping for presentation or just displaying the models with some extra layer of information added onto the model.
I have a question which is slightly offbeat from the technical enchantment. It's about your practice and related to the historical part of your presentation. And I think that basically you are all operating into an idea of doing more and being more and more enchanted about the possibilities of your technologies. And which I thought was a really interesting modern approach. But at the same time, the entire discussion around it was somehow missing from the presentation. What are the practices of discourse linked to your, say, enchantment with this new technology? What kind of questions do you get usually? What kind of discussions do you get around your practice? What is your daily discussion? Is it about how to improve your technology? Is it where do you position yourself?
Between us?
No, not only between the two of you, which is somehow the daily life of an office, but between the two of you and your audience. Because I was somehow struck by the fact that the most obvious historical reference of light architecture for me would be the Nuremberg light cathedral of Albert Speer, and in all its political implications of enchantment and an idea of being able to do more and more. And I wanted to understand, how do you position your practice about wanting to do more and more in relation to a wider discussion around what architecture can do?
Yeah, I think it's not about more and more, it's about to make an architecture which is like first temporary. Most of our projects are temporary, are moving architecture. We like to make architectural pieces that we can tour with and travel with. And this is quite different than all the historical building. That's why we use mainly, basics materials, standard scaffolding, standard products. Everything is standard. When we travel with, like, for example, main of our project, we travel with, like we are today, with both of us, our laptop, and a PlayStation joystick. All the other parts, all the construction things are sourced locally. That's why we can travel really easily with this kind of. The boombox is 16 meter wide, 8 meter high, and we travel with one bag. And what we like is to make moving architecture, alive architecture, temporary architecture.
What's the discussion about that possibility of life becoming lighter and lighter and more mobile? Do you engage with? What is your intellectual and cultural discussions with your peers?
Actually, what we like to conceptualize or think about is making an architecture or architectural forms without any materials, and that's why we are turning into light, for instance, and that's why this hypercube project, because conceptually we would like to be able to define space and volumes. That's the role of an architect, but without any material. And that's why for us it's very interesting to work with this technology, with light, because of course it's very lightweight and it's very it's sourced locally, but in terms of concept, what we really enjoy is try to define a space without matter, and that's one of the key aspects of our work these days.
And who influences that the most? Do you come up with the proposition, or do you
Get a personal, demand or instruction by Vitalik or anybody else? Do you work in collaboration, or is it a self-driven ego design?
Well, like we started with this cube for Ethiopia, and it was in a way I asked for him, but in another way I asked for us. We were looking for a musician to make something happen, because we thought, yeah, this is perhaps a good moment to make it happen. And so it was kind of common. And then we have some ideas that we developed by our own, and it's exactly this story about Vitalik that we met. He knew us from the cube from Ethiopia, so he comes to us and can you design a show, and we make this first collaboration with this project called Vemiro, and then the second one, and this. It's already a full process, you don't know what you will do after you made it, You made one project and, this can be done in another way, and so each project gives us the idea of the project after or later. And so we really mix some projects that people asked for us to do, and projects that we wanted to develop by our own. And more, we wanted to make our own projects, just to make it happen by our own.
So often we are both the client and the architect. So for the hypercube, we had this idea and we thought, okay, let's do it, and let's find somebody who has a festival and want to do it. So we did it in Vancouver, then we put online, and now some people are calling us, yeah, I want it in my city. Okay, no problem. So it's kind of refreshing, and we are lucky to be able to be on some project, both the client and the architect.
Any more questions? Great. So starts to be party time, I think, and so everybody, please join me in thanking Architecture 1024 for their lecture.
Thank you.